look at this monkey.
Infernape, a simian of pure fiery prowess, a master of all different fighting techniques, one of the most iconic starter Pokemon, and the OG of the Gen 4 OU metagame. Has a worse attack stat than Tumbleweed. Also it's NU now. Infernape's downfall was expected to happen, but not like this, man. Cause damn it, Infernape is the most badass starter Pokemon created. The flame spewing from its head, the sick color scheme of yellow, red, and white. If that's not convincing enough, take a gander at this cry. Ew, no! Play its real cry. This is not a Pokemon that wants to battle. This is a Pokemon that wants you dead. But I'm not here to glaze this primate. I'm here to explain how Infernape went from Monke to Brokey. That's the title of the video.
A series of unfortunate events.
Infernape was introduced in the physical special split generation, and it took full advantage of this mechanical change. Boasting incredible stabs and a boosting move for both its offenses, it was one of the scariest wall breakers defensive teams had seen at this point in time. Infernape was Blaziken, but better. Blaziken's niche in ADV was being a mix attacker that can threaten the iconic Skarnbliss core, but due to its lackluster speed tier, it didn't go past being niche. Not the case with this ape. Its speed tier blitzed past base 100s such as Zapdos, Jirachi, and even Salamence before he became too fly for OU. Infernape also had priority and coverage in the form of Grass Knot to hit bulky waters like Swampert, or Stone Edge to smack Gyarados and Dragonite who resisted its stab combination otherwise. Despite its flaws such as its frailty, it was a versatile, unpredictable wall breaker in OU, with how many sets it can run and became an icon of the format. Nothing could stand in its way. Despite what some people say about it in the post-Latias meta, Infernape is still a good Pokemon in DPP OU, even though the format has moved in a direction that's less fun for the player base. Infernape is still blazing fast for the tier. Only 3 Pokemon in the metagame outspeed it naturally, and all of those are pursuit victims. Modern DPP players also sometimes run leftovers or slack off to heal off chip damage, such as from sand, which is one of the ways defensive teams play around Infernape. Some Infernapes opted for Swords Dance or Nasty Plot, with Nasty Plot being the better of the two. At +2, it cleanly one-shots targets like Zapdos, the Rotom appliances, and specially defensive Hippowdon after rocks, while being able to run close combat to smack special walls like Clefable. With a Pashio Berry, Infernape can tank a Surf from Starmie, and Oko it back with a +2 Grass Knot. It still has to look out for Latias, so T-Wave or Pursuit support is the go-to for this set. One of Infernape's best tools is U-Turn, which was also introduced this gen funnily enough. U-Turn deals a decent chunk of damage to Starmie and Latias, while letting Infernape pivot versus its checks. Part of why Infernape started to fall off was the rise of Nidoqueen, who could punish close combat or U-Turn with Poison Point, making it harder for Infernape to wall break. But in an ironic twist, the unbanning of Latias led to Nidoqueen being the one to fall off, because stacking Spike and Toxic Spike immunes became even easier. As a result, Infernape began making a slow and quiet comeback. Is it as good as it was in the past? No, but it's still going strong. Unlike in Gen 5.
Oh my god, are you crying?
No, it's just raining.
Okay, it wasn't all bad for Infernape in Gen 5. In Black and White 1, it found some decent success after the comically broken speed boost Blaziken was banned. Choice banned Mach Punch, which was boosted by its new ability Iron Fist, picked off targets like Terrakion, Cloyster, and Sandrush Excadrill before it was banned. It also ran mixed sets with a larger emphasis on Hidden Power Ice to nail the 4x weak Landorus and Dragon Flying types. Sun still had custody of its children, so Sun was a viable archetype and Infernape found usage on it. Maybe not OU material anymore, but it's at least something to consider.
My Little Pony.
With Black and White 2 being dominated by Keldeo, who had the same speed stat but with better offenses, Infernape's viability went 3 feet and 11 inches under. The issues only piled up as the meta kept evolving. Infernape already struggled with coming in due to its poor defenses, but now spikes are even more popular this gen with the newly introduced and totally not homophobic Ferrothorn being easier to splash than Skarmory. Even when Infernape comes in, it's not doing much, because the tier has become much bulkier compared to Gen 4, with checks like Garchomp, Poison Heal Gliscor, Landorus Therian, Rotom Wash, Jellicent, Rain Dish Tentacruel, and Reuniclus having no trouble messing it up, unless it carries a specific coverage option like HP Ice. Clicking any move besides U-turn also meant letting Latias's slightly less bulky brother Latios fire off a free Draco. If you played at least 5 games of Black and White OU, you know why that's a problem. Keldeo also has to contend with Latios, but it can at least fish for Scald Burns, and it's also just a better Mon. Seeing as Infernape, a Pokemon with limited switch-in opportunities, has very little value whenever it's on the field, it's no surprise that it dropped to UU. That is what you're thinking, right? Yes, the 10-year-old spamming Infernape on the ladder could not fathom the idea of their favorite fire monkey being UU. So Infernape never got to experience the UU meta where it would have been good.
To your house? In 3D land?
Well, that day came when in Gen 6, the OU player base finally let Infernape drop to UU, where it's decent. Gen 6 UU is dominated by bulky waters, to the point people wanted to ban Scald, which, holy sh, and faster threats like Crobat and Mega Aerodactyl gave Infernape a run for its money. It also had competition with other fighting types like Heracross, Virizion, and Mienshao who were much more suited for this bulky meta. Still, Infernape's Stealth Rock neutrality and great coverage meant it can fend off against balance and its giant pool of water types. It, of course, runs a bunch of sets, with Infernape's best set being Nasty Plot for being able to power through bulky waters with +2 Grass Knots. Oh, and it would surprise you to know that Infernape has a very small niche in OU. Yes, the meta with speed tiers that make Infernape look like Munchlax. That's unbelievable, but what's more unbelievable is that its niche is defensive. Turns out firefighting matches up well into some top threats like Scizor, Weavile, and Bisharp. Will-O-Wisp and Taunt allows it to disrupt physical attackers and slow defensive mons, spread Burn Chip, while keeping itself healthy with Slack Off. Now, this isn't me saying that Infernape is some secret underrated OU mon like Cofagrigus. It's still a minuscule niche which you probably won't consider for 99.9% of teams, but hey, it's worth noting, cause that will not happen again in Gen 7.
No! Not it burns!
Gen 7's power creep makes Gen 5 look like Little Cup. There's just so many problems for Infernape in this new environment. Tornadus, Toxapex, Gliscor, Landorus, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Fini, Garchomp, Mega Alakazam, Greninja, and much more. Fortunately, this gen was better for Goku the Arsonist, because Infernape was amazing in Gen 7 UU. Z-moves gave Infernape the necessary power boost it wanted for years. Now with Fighting MZ or Electrium Z, Infernape can muscle through checks like Alomomola, Slowbro, Swampert, and Hippowdon. Though UU introduced Latias, Infernape can be paired with the freshly dropped Scizor and Bisharp who can Pursuit Trap the Jet Plane Dragon. As for Primarina and Mega Altaria, Infernape gets Gunk Shot. It's always had it. This British assassin
Got them big keys!
Oh no! Infernape would take a vacation for Gen 8 because I guess they were afraid it would eclipse Rillaboom or something. Though if you're one of the 3 people wondering how it fared in BTSP, it's A tier. It's good. And yes, BTSP OU is a thing that exists. But Infernape is back in Gen 9, and as expected, it continued to reign as a powerhouse in the UU tier. Wait, it dropped? How the f***? UU was hit with massive power creep since Infernape left, to the point where UU now resembles Oras OU. Remember Tornadus and Toxapex? Well, they're washed, and now they drop to UU to wash Infernape away from the tier. If that wasn't bad enough, UU also has Deoxys speed. There was no shot Infernape was going to be able to keep up with the general stat increase in the tier and new defensive checks. Well, it beats Low Kicks, the king of UU. It quad resists Bug and can one-shot it with a fire-type move. But it's fine. You know, unless your name is Cobalion, your time as a tier staple will come to an end as the power level eclipses you with each generation. It's natural. And I'm sure Infernape is enjoying its new home in RU. Wait, what do you mean it's f***ing NU? Has the world gone mad? Cause nothing makes sense anymore. Like Infernape is NU, Snorlax is in ZU, Fortress is still RU somehow, Daddy Buzzwell is banned from the OU discussion thread, Toriyama is dead, there's no news on Silk Song, groceries are so expensive, schools are underfunded, kids don't know how to read, the globe is getting hotter and hotter, we're getting closer to World War III, and the worst part is we still don't know what's in that fuck. So what happened to Infernape and RU? It faces stiff competition as both a fire type and a fighting type. Infernape struggles with balanced staples like Slowbro, Noivern, Hippowdon, Weezing, and Pheasantipede, especially Noivern, who resists its stabs and threatens back. It's outpaced by the tier's plethora of Scarfers and naturally fast threats. Infernape itself can't really run Scarf because Scarf Ape is garbage, like why not run Capdos? Infernape is setup fodder for Gyarados, Basculegion, Armarouge, and Salamence, so it can't claim to be a great anti-offense mon either. So now you know why Infernape can't cut it in RU. But what about NU? You know, it's hard to believe, but Infernape was actually on the verge of dropping to PU at one point. Talonflame used to be in the tier before RU snatched it from them, and was one of the best mons. It pretty much walled both its stabs, meaning Infernape had to sacrifice Grass Knot, Priority, or U-turn in order to break past the Firehawk. To another side of things, NU was already littered with great fighting types. One example was the incredibly explosive Gallade, who would thankfully be booted off the tier for being too good at breaking teams lacking Screamtail. Even after its ban, NU's roster still has fighters like Mienshao, oh wait, bad example, Flamigo, Toxicroak, Hariyama, and the Tauros brothers. What they lack in speed, they make up for it with better damage output, and more importantly, better defensive utility. Mienshao, before it was banned, was able to come in on the field multiple times and also run Life Orb because it will heal off the chip damage thanks to Regenerator. Flamigo's defensive typing gives it a nice list of resistances and an immunity to spikes in a tier with limited removal, while being able to throw in Roost to keep itself healthy. Toxicroak can pivot into the many water-type moves flying around with Dry Skin and was also nice into Alolan Muck. Hariyama with an Assault Vest can sponge hits from the dangerous special breakers running around NU. Tauros had much better physical bulk, especially with Intimidate. With how stacked the competition is in NU, is there a reason to use Infernape? Well, Infernape fans, I'm happy to report that our boy is doing pretty good right now. I know I said that raw power and defensive utility are more important, but its 108 speed tier is hard to overlook. Tauros, Flamigo, Porygon Z, Scyther, and Tier King Flygon are all huge threats that Infernape can revenge kill, especially with a Choice Scarf. Previously, it was outclassed in this role by Mienshao. Infernape can also go mixed with Life Orb or Eject Pack. Choice Specs is another great set that is able to set itself apart from the Fire-type Wallbreaker Chandelure due to its higher speed tier, access to priority in an offensive tier like NU, and its ability to threaten Shandy's two biggest checks with Fighting Stab. Infernape's classic trait of having so many sets means it can break through teams using traditional Fighting-type checks or Chandelure checks. To add to its versatility, Infernape has made use of its utility options such as Stealth Rock, Encore, Taunt, and a new addition to its arsenal, Knockoff, which also hits Chandelure. It may not be busting through walls in OU anymore, but it's great to see Infernape still doing what it does best in NU. Plus, the tier looks similar to Gen 4 OU anyways, so it checks out. Maybe someday, the sun will rise, and with it, so will Infernape, emerged as a new Monkey King. Whether it's stat buffs, a new ability, a new move, a Mega Evolution, or a regional form. We might be mind blown about Infernape being NU now, but 4 more generations from now, we'll be losing our mind over Darkrai being UU. Anyways, that's it. What are your thoughts? Are you disappointed to live to see Infernape's downfall? Or are you a Blaziken stan and you waited for this day to come? And also, how would you go about buffing Infernape? Thank you for watching, and remember, nothing in the world is difficult, but thinking makes it seem so. Where there is a roaring moon, there is always a way.
Go ahead, make your wildest desires a reality.
What the f?